This happened last summer. I was at my uncle's farmhouse, which I hadn't seen in years. I thought it would be a good place to get some photos and find inspiration for my work. I wasn't really an expert on farms, but I had some fond memories of running through the fields as a child. I've never stopped thinking about that place. The farmhouse sat at the edge of a huge cornfield. It was surrounded by old farm equipment and wildflowers. There was a barn in the distance. It looked worn down with age. I noticed a red house nearby. It looked old, with peeling paint and vines all over it. On my second night, I sat on the porch, taking photos of the sunset. I saw flickering lights coming from the red house. I thought it was strange. I wanted to check it out, but then I remembered my uncle's words. He always warned us not to go near that place after dark. Maybe I should have listened, but curiosity nagged at me. After that night, things got weirder. I kept hearing music and laughter coming from the direction of the red house during twilight. Felt creepy. I met a few neighbors who seemed nervous when I mentioned the red house. They spoke in whispers about its history. I didn't understand why they were so scared. It was just a house, right? One evening, I was taking pictures of the moonlight reflecting on the cornfield. I glanced back at the red house, and I froze. There was a figure at the window. It was just standing there, watching me. My heart raced. I thought I imagined it, but it didn't go away. I blinked a few times, but it was still there, a shadowy shape against the dim light. As days passed, my unease grew. I felt like I was being watched more often, especially when I was outside. I kept telling myself that I was just tired and maybe the stories were getting to me. But how could I shake the feeling that something was off? One night, as I sat in the farmhouse, I heard the music again. It swirled around me, soft yet disturbing. I wanted to go see who was there. I almost grabbed my camera. I felt drawn to it like someone was calling me. I looked out the window, and for a moment, the music stopped. I felt a chill run down my spine. Then, I thought I saw the figure again, closer this time. Was it real? I wasn't sure. Maybe it was just my imagination playing tricks. But as I tried to convince myself, I couldn't shake the sense of dread that clung to me. Then there was a sudden movement in the shadows outside. I squinted and braced myself. I thought I heard a whisper. It sounded like my name. I took a deep breath, and then I felt something shift behind me. I turned quickly, only to find nothing there. I went back to the window, slowly. The red house loomed in front of me. I tried to rationalize what was happening. Maybe it was just a ghost story, just a legend. But when I stared at the window, I felt cold fear grip my heart. I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped. I wanted to leave, but something inside me held me there. I thought of my uncle, of his words, and the silence that followed. What really happened in that red house? I felt the weight of something heavy in the air. I should listened. I was not alone anymore. The next day, I woke up feeling restless. I couldn't shake the tension from the night before. I decided I needed to find out more about the red house. Ignoring my uncle's warning felt like an act of defiance, but my curiosity had completely taken over as I walked toward the house. Every creak of the floorboards and rustle of leaves made my heart pound. I approached with caution, ready for something unexpected. My camera hung around my neck like a beacon, as if it could somehow protect me. I stepped cautiously through the tall grass, my eyes fixed on the peeling paint of the red house. It looked even more forlorn up close. Vines crawled like fingers reaching out for the sky. I could see shattered windows, and I felt the urge to peek inside. What if I could get a clue about the figure? Maybe there was something left behind that could explain the strange happenings. But I hesitated. Just then, I heard a rustling sound coming from the back of the house. My heart raced. I turned to look, hoping to see something, anything that would clarify the mystery. But nothing emerged from the shadows. I considered turning back, but I felt compelled to keep going. Taking a deep breath, I stepped onto the porch. The wood creaked under my weight, and I felt a shiver run through me. I cautiously pushed the door open. It gave way easily, as if it hadn't been locked in years. The air inside was stale, coated in dust and memories. It smelled of mildew and neglect. I moved carefully through the dim interior, my camera ready. The floor was littered with old newspapers and broken furniture. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. I snapped a few photos, my instincts on high alert. Each shutter click echoed in the silence. That's when I saw it. A small portrait hung crooked on the wall. I stepped closer, intrigued. It was an old painting of a family, 2 parents and a child. The child's eyes seemed to follow me as I moved. An unmistakable sensation slithered through me, as if I was being scrutinized. Something about the painting felt familiar. Suddenly, I heard a loud bang from behind me. I jumped, spinning around, ready for anything. My heart raced as I scanned the room. Nothing but shadows stared back at me. My mind was buzzing with thoughts. Did someone else come in? Or was it just the house settling? I was about to leave when I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. A movement in the hallway drew my attention. I hesitated, torn between leaving and needing to know what or who was there. The whispering voice from the night before echoed in my mind. My legs felt like lead, but I stepped cautiously toward the sound. My camera clutched tightly. I peered down the hallway, feeling a strange pull. Was it the same figure? The music? Had I found what called to me? But just then, the door slammed shut behind me with a deafening thud. I stared at it, breathless and paralyzed with fear. The room darkened, and a chill enveloped me. I was trapped. I was not prepared for what came next. The walls felt like they were closing in, and I staggered back as panic surged through me. I fumbled for the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. The weight of the air was suffocating. I whipped around, desperate to find another way out, but the hallway stretched on, dark and ominous. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling. No answer, only the oppressive silence. The shadows seemed to gather around me, thick and menacing, as if they were alive. My heart pounded as I turned to face the hallway, driven by a strange urge to explore further. The movement I had seen earlier flickered in the dim light, a figure dancing in and out of view. My instincts screamed for me to flee, but I pushed ahead. Holding my camera tightly, I stepped cautiously into the hallway. A steady rhythm returned to my breath as I took one slow step after another. At the end of the hallway, I could see a faint light. With each step, it grew brighter, illuminating what appeared to be a door slightly ajar. What lay behind it? I swallowed hard and crept toward it. Each creak of the floorboards underfoot sounded like thunder in the silence. As I approached, the light flickered and faded, almost teasing me. I hesitated, my hand raised to push the door open. But a sudden rustle behind me made me jump. Adrenaline pumped through my veins. I turned quickly, aiming my camera at the sound, hoping to catch whatever lurked there. Nothing, just shadows. I forced myself to breathe slowly, trying to calm my racing heart. Then I remembered the portrait. The child's eyes. They felt alive. A chill ran down my spine. I took another step toward the door, and this time, I pushed it open. The hinges squeaked, and it revealed a small room cluttered with furniture covered in white sheets. Boxes stacked high, faded curtains that looked like they'd been frozen in time. A chill skittered over my skin. But what caught my eye was an old radio perched on a dusty table. The screen was glowing faintly. I moved closer, compelled by a strange force. The music that had haunted my dreams echoed through the room, soft, almost haunting. I felt an undeniable pull, as if it wanted me to tune in, to connect. Suddenly, the radio crackled violently, the music cutting off. I stumbled back, heart racing, and looked around the room. That was when I noticed something moving behind the sheet-covered furniture. My breath hitched as I realized it wasn't just my imagination. Out of nowhere, a cold wind gusted through the room, whipping the sheets up like ghosts rising from the dead. My skin prickled, and I spun around to face whatever was coming. That's when I caught a glimpse of a silhouette, a figure moving slowly toward me, with eyes that glowed like embers. It looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. My feet felt glued to the floor, and I remembered my uncle's warning, but it was too late. I had to know who or what it was. As the figure drew closer, the radio buzzed back to life, the music more urgent, more chaotic. I tightened my grip on my camera, ready to capture whatever happened next. The figure emerged from the shadows, and the sickly glow of its eyes pierced through the darkness. My instincts kicked in and my heart raced. I should run, yet curiosity pinned me in place as fear mingled with fascination. I raised the camera, trembling, unsure if I was ready to capture what might unfold. The silhouette morphed into a clearer image, a girl, with long, tangled hair and clothes that appeared to hang off her thin frame. But her face remained obscured in darkness. I wanted to call out to her, ask questions, but the words stuck in my throat. A part of me told me I shouldn't engage, that something wasn't right. That as she stepped closer, the air thickened with a bone-chilling cold. The radio crackled again, its sound filling the room like a warning. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up as a whisper floated through the air. I couldn't distinguish the words, but the tone was both inviting and alarming. Help me, the voice seemed to drift on the wind. Who are you? I finally managed to shout, the regret almost immediate as the words interrupted the eeriness. The girl paused, tilting her head slightly, as if she was searching for something in my eyes. Then, the music stopped abruptly, leaving only silence, echoing with the girl's heavy breaths. I felt the camera slipping from my grip, and I forced myself to focus. I needed to understand what was happening. Please, she whispered again, her voice wavering. You have to help. Something twisted in my gut. Help? But how? As if sensing my conflict, she took a tentative step forward, her gaze locking onto mine. The faint light spilling through the door illuminated her features, and I realized she looked familiar, like the child from the portrait in the hallway. An unsettling connection coursed through me. Then a shadow crossed in front of the door, pulling my attention. A new figure emerged, looming larger, more menacing. An unsettling presence overshadowed the girl, and I felt a chill of dread sweep through me. The air crackled with tension as fear bubbled to the surface. Get away from her, I shouted, my voice shaking. The newcomer halted, and I could see it was a man, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. He stood still, watching both of us with a knowing smile that made my stomach turn. The girl's expression turned desperate as she stumbled backward. In that moment, I understood I wasn't just an observer anymore. I was in the middle of something far more dangerous than I had anticipated. Then, with blinding speed, the man lunged toward her. Instinct kicked in, and I lunged for the door, heart pounding. I had to protect her. But as I reached it, the door slammed shut in my face. I recoiled, stumbling back into the room. The air turned icy, and I felt trapped, with darkness pressing in around me. I spun around, my camera still clutched in my hand, searching for some sign of how to escape. That's when I saw an old photo album lying half-buried beneath a pile of dust. I picked it up, flipping it open. The first page turned, and my breath caught in my throat. Picture the girl, smiling, looked back at me. But the next page revealed something chilling, a figure behind her, the same man. The realization struck hard. In that moment, everything began to make sense, but what I was left with was terrifying. I dropped the album, and as it hit the floor, everything went dark. I awoke on the floor, heart racing. It took me a moment to gather my thoughts, the darkness slowly receding as I blinked into the dimness of the room. The photo album lay beside me, open to the haunting picture. A cold sweat trickled down my back. Where had the girl gone? I scrambled to my feet, every muscle tense. The door remained closed, the air heavy with an underlying sense of dread. Should I call out? Would she hear me? I hesitated, weighing my options. That's when it happened. A soft, distant sound broke the silence, a creaking floorboard from the hallway. It sent chills racing down my spine. I wasn't alone. My instinct screamed at me to hide, but where could I go? I crouched behind a rotting armchair, hoping its decay would mask my presence. I heard the creak again, louder this time, followed by the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate. Whoever it was, they were approaching. My heart threatened to burst through my chest. I strained to listen, each heartbeat echoing in my ears. Don't be afraid, a soft voice said, startling me from my reverie. My stomach dropped. It was the girl's voice. You have to find me. Where are you? I whispered, not daring to move. Close, she replied, her voice echoing into the shadows. But he can't see you. The urgency in her words made me shudder. I couldn't understand what was happening or who he was. I felt a shiver race through me, but I stayed put, trying to focus. I had to find a way to help her, despite the fear clawing at my insides. Suddenly, the footsteps halted outside the door. I could hear the man's breathing, heavy and steady. You think you can hide? He called out, his voice deeper and chilling. You can't escape. She belongs to me. My breath hitched. What kind of power did he have over her? I had to know what had happened to the girl. Gathering all my courage, I rose slightly to peer through a crack in the chair. The man stood in the doorway, his wide-brimmed hat casting a shadow over his features. My stomach churned, and panic surged through my veins. The girl was nowhere in sight. Come out, wherever you are, he taunted, his smile widening. It was too much. I needed to act before it was too late. I thought back to the photo album and its revelation. I had to figure out what connected the girl and this man. With a quick decision, I slipped out from my hiding spot and made my way toward the hall. Before I could reach the door, a sharp sound pierced the air. The girl's desperate shout echoed in my head. Don't let him take you. The warning fueled my urgency, propelling me forward, but as I crossed the threshold, another loud creak split the silence. I froze. There in the doorway stood the man, his sinister grin now replaced by an expression of cold rage. This is a mistake, I mumbled, feeling my resolve crumble under his glare. Then, before I could react, he lunged at me. I barely had time to think. I threw myself to the side, narrowly avoiding his grasp. The force of his lunge sent me crashing into a wall, and pain shot through my shoulder. I pushed forward, stumbling around him as he regained his footing. Get back here. His voice roared, but the adrenaline pumping through my veins drowned out my fear. I raced down the hall, my heart pounding as I searched for an escape. Every door I passed was locked tight. I heard him pounding after me, chasing me with a fury I couldn't comprehend. Panic surged as I glanced back. His tall silhouette was closing the distance, moving with swift determination. Where are you going? He taunted, and his laughter sent shivers down my spine. You can't outrun me. In that moment, I felt the girl's voice wrap around me like an embrace. Find the stairs, she urged, her tone almost pleading. I whipped around the corner and saw a staircase ahead. It seemed like my only option. Without hesitation, I sprinted up the steps, taking them two at a time. Each creak of the wooden boards beneath my feet echoed through the quiet, amplifying my fear. I reached the second floor and immediately scanned the hallway. Several doors lined the walls, but I didn't know where to go. Think, I whispered to myself. I had to trust the girl's instincts. I dashed toward the door at the end, pulling it open with a desperate yank. The room was dark, but I could see an old dresser, a dusty bed, and in the corner, a window. I hurried to the window. My heart sank as I realized it was covered with thick iron bars. I felt trapped, cornered like an animal. The sound of his footsteps echoed closer, confirming my time was running out. Where are you? He called out, his voice slithering through the air. I can smell your fear. Shut up. I barked back, fueled by a mix of terror and anger. I turned toward the room in search of anything I could use as a weapon. When I saw it, a small, rusted knife lying on the floor beneath the bed. I hesitated. Could I really confront him? The fear of what he might do stopped me cold. But then I thought of the girl. I had to find her and help her escape. If I could just buy myself some time, help me, she cried in my mind, and in that instant I made my decision. I grabbed the knife, clutching it tightly in my hand as I moved back toward the door. I readied myself as I heard his footsteps growing closer. The doorknob rattled, and my heart raced. Couldn't let him catch me. The door swung open, and there he was, breathing heavily, eyes wild with anger. I lunged forward, knife aimed at him. Stay back, I yelled, though I felt my resolve wavering. He smirked at me, an unsettling calmness in his demeanor. You think you can scare me? He taunted, stepping into the room. But in his eyes, I could see something else, something more than confidence. It was a flicker of uncertainty. Where is she? I demanded, my voice trembling. Who? He replied, raising an eyebrow. The girl. She is here. Asantishi? You have to tell me. Before he could respond, movement caught my eye in the corner of the room. A figure flickered into view, hazy but unmistakably familiar. It was her, the girl from the photo. Help me, she mouthed, her expression filled with urgency. Then everything went dark. I gasped, eyes shooting open. The darkness enveloped me. I blinked several times, trying to adjust to the blackness around me. It felt eerie and suffocating. Had I passed out? Panic set in as I scrambled to sit up. That I was in a small, dimly lit room. The air was thick and stale. My heart raced as I searched for any sign of where I was. Then I heard a soft, whimpering sound behind me. I turned quickly to see the girl reappear, but this time she seemed more tangible, vivid. Help me, she whispered, drawing closer. Her eyes were filled with fear, and it dawned on me that I wasn't the only one in danger. Where are we? I asked, my voice shaky. This is his lair, she replied, glancing around nervously. He brings his victims here, but we have to find a way out. Victims? The word gripped my throat. What has he done to you? She shook her head violently. No time. You have to trust me. I felt a rush of frustration. Why should I trust you? Because he is coming for you, she exclaimed, her voice rising. The sound of footsteps echoed outside the door. My heart dropped. I had only a moment to act. What do we do? Behind the dresser, she urged, pointing at the old wooden piece of furniture. Without thinking twice, I rushed over and pushed the dresser aside, revealing a narrow space behind it. I squeezed into the small opening just as the door creaked open. I hardly dared to breathe. His silhouette filled the doorway. Where are you? He bellowed, looking around with an ominous grin spreading across his face. You can't hide from me. I held my breath and glanced at the girl. She motioned for me to be still, and I pressed against the wall, hoping he wouldn't notice us. After a long, tense moment, he stepped into the room, scanning every corner. I could see every muscle in his face tense with anger. I know you're in here, little mouse, he taunted, almost playful. Please, I whispered to the girl. What do I do? She met my gaze, eyes wide with determination. We wait until he leaves. Then we run. Just then, I heard a loud crash from down the hall, the sound of something heavy falling. My heart leaped. What was that? I whispered, panic creeping back in. It's just him, the girl assured. He gets careless when he is angry. I wanted to scream. How could she be so calm? My thoughts raced, but I forced myself to focus on her words. Suddenly, he turned his back to the room. I'll find you, he shouted, stepping out. I felt relief flood in, but it was short-lived. A sudden noise erupted from somewhere outside, and his anger intensified. Shut up, he roared, and I heard footsteps stomping away. I exchanged a quick glance with the girl, and knew we couldn't wait any longer. We crawled out from our hiding spot and into the open room. I felt the rush of adrenaline as we stood on shaky legs. Now what? I asked, my mind racing. We find a way out, she urged, moving forward into the hallway. But as we stepped out, a chilling realization hit me. Someone was there waiting for us. As I stepped into the hallway, the air felt even colder than before. I could sense a presence lurking in the shadows, a weight pressing down on my chest. I clenched my fists, feeling my pulse thud in my ears. The girl beside me held my arm, her grip firm. We need to move quickly, she whispered, her voice low and urgent. Just then, a figure emerged from the darkness at the far end of the hallway. My stomach dropped as I recognized him, the man from my nightmares. He tilted his head, a twisted smile creeping across his face. Going somewhere? He taunted, taking a step closer. I felt the girl's breath hitch beside me. We can't stay here, she whispered, her eyes darting around for an escape. Run, I shouted, flinging a glance back at the man. I didn't wait to see if she followed. I sprinted down the hallway, my feet pounding against the wooden floor. The corridor stretched endlessly, and the walls seemed to close in as I pushed forward. My breath came in quick gasps. I was aware of the pounding footsteps behind me. He was gaining on us. I reached a door on my right and threw it open without hesitating. The room inside appeared empty but was dimly lit, the faint glow of a single bulb flickering overhead. I dashed across the threshold, quickly searching for a place to hide. "Come on," I urged the girl, and she rushed in behind me. I closed the door swiftly, pressing my back against it, holding my breath. From the other side, I could hear the man's heavy footsteps coming closer, then stopping just outside our hiding place. "Now where did you go?" he drawled, mocking us. The girl's eyes were wide with fear as she glanced around the room. "We need to find something to block the door," she hissed, moving toward a stack of old crates in the corner. I shifted nervously, my heart racing. What if he gets in? He won tea if we act fast, she insisted. We threw crates against the door, the sound echoing in the small room. Suddenly, the door shuddered violently as he slammed against it. I jumped back, my heart racing even faster. "He's coming," I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. "We have to find another exit." She looked around frantically, her breath coming out in short bursts. That's when I saw it, a window at the far end of the room, barely ajar. I pointed toward it. "Over there." She nodded and we dashed toward the window. I glanced back, my mind racing with thoughts of what would happen if he broke through the door. The noise grew louder, and I could feel the floor trembling beneath the force of his attacks as we reached the window. I pulled it open and squeezed through, not caring if the glass cut me. The night air rushed in, cold and raw. I could feel the girl behind me, her hands trembling as she climbed through. But just as we landed on the ground outside, I heard his voice again, much closer this time. "You think you can get away that easily?" We needed to move fast. I grabbed her hand, and we dashed into the shadows of the trees surrounding the house, leaving behind the nightmare we had run from. As we pushed deeper into the woods, I could hear the crunch of leaves behind us. Would he find us? I dared not look back. The only thing on my mind was survival. But the darkness whispered secrets, and I had a feeling we hadn't escaped just yet. The trees swallowed us whole as we stumbled forward, their branches clawing at our clothes. I focused on the dim light ahead, unsure if it was a way out or merely another trap. The girl, her face pale and eyes wide, tugged at my hand, urging me to keep moving. "Can you hear him?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I paused, straining to listen. My heart sank as I caught the faintest sound, the snapping of twigs, the rustling of leaves. He was following us. "Just keep going," I said, pushing forward, my feet leading the way despite the terror gnawing at my insides. I felt panic clawing at my throat. If he caught us, what would he do? After what felt like an eternity of sprinting through the dark, we burst out of the tree line and into a small clearing. Moonlight flooded the area, allowing me to take a breath for the first time. A dilapidated cabin stood in front of us, its windows dark and silent. I hesitated. "Should we check it?" the girl asked, glancing over her shoulder. I shook my head. Do we really want to invite more trouble? But the growl of the wind made my heart race, urging us to take shelter. We didn't have much choice. Let us at least look. I took a cautious step forward, the girl following closely behind. As we neared the door, a chill swept through the air more than the cold night should have warranted. I shivered. With a trembling hand, I reached for the doorknob. It was surprisingly warm, and the feeling was unsettling. I hesitated, then pushed the door open. Inside, the cabin was dark, save for the faint glow of what seemed to be a dying ember in the fireplace. A musty smell filled the air. "It's empty," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, a wave of unease washed over me. Maybe we should. The door suddenly slammed shut behind us, the sound echoing like a gunshot. We jumped. I turned just in time to see the wood splinter at the frame. "No!" I shouted, rushing back to yank the door. It didn't budge. Our safe haven had turned into a trap. "We need to find something to barricade it." She turned, eyes glimmering with fear. I scanned the room as panic surged through me. The darkness felt alive, threatening to swallow us whole. When I saw it, a trapdoor hidden beneath a threadbare rug in the corner of the room. My mind raced. Should we even consider risking it? But then I heard him outside, the heavy footsteps growing louder, pounding against the world like a thunderstorm. Over here. I pointed. Quick! We yanked the rug aside and pried the door open. A set of stairs descended into the inky darkness below. Are you sure? She asked, trembling. I nodded, fear propelling me forward as I took a cautious step down the stairs. She followed, her breath hitching in fear. The air grew cooler as we descended, and each step echoed, a sinister reminder of our desperate situation. But just as we reached the bottom, I heard something from above, a soft whisper. The voice twisted through the silence, echoing off the walls. Where are you hiding? My blood ran cold. It wasn't just the man. Someone else was in the cabin, watching us. As we reached the bottom of the stairs, my pulse thundered in my ears. I turned to the girl, and the look in her eyes mirrored my dread. Uncertainty mingled with a flicker of hope. What had we stumbled into? The darkness around us thickened, dampening any remaining sense of safety. All right, I whispered, summoning my courage. Let us find a way out. We stood in a narrow corridor lined with damp stone walls, the air heavy with mildew. The whispers above grew louder, a haunting symphony echoing through the wooden floorboards. I grabbed her hand, and together we moved deeper into the shadows, each step punctuated by the sound of our breathing. The hallway opened up to an underground chamber. Shadows danced across the walls, shaped by the flickering light of a single candle sitting atop an old wooden crate. A shiver raced through me as I approached it. Glancing around, I noticed remnants of something more: a dilapidated chair, rusty chains hanging from the ceiling, and dust-covered remnants that hinted at some gruesome past. This place feels wrong, I murmured, trying to keep my voice steady. Help me. The girl's whisper broke through my thoughts. It was weird how familiar her voice felt, like the echo of a long-lost memory gnawing at the edges of my mind. Where do I help you? I asked, still trying to piece together her connection to the man. Her face lit up with urgency. We need to find the exit, but we must avoid him. Suddenly, the footsteps above grew silent, replaced by an unsettling stillness. My spine tingled. He is searching for us. We need to move now. I urged her. We crept along the walls, careful to avoid the spots where the floor creaked. As we reached the far end of the chamber, I spotted another set of stairs leading upward. There, I motioned with newfound determination as we ascended. I felt a surge of adrenaline, but dread gnawed at my insides. I glanced back, as if someone were watching us from the darkness. At the top of the stairs, a wooden door stood ajar. The girl hesitated, fear overtaking her face. He'll be waiting, she warned, her voice barely above a whisper. He doesn't let anyone go. I can't just hide here. I have to try, I replied, opening the door slowly, bracing myself for what might lie ahead. The room beyond was dimly lit, though shafts of moonlight pierced through small cracks in the boarded-up windows. To my left stood a large mirror, dusty and cracked. I felt its gaze on me, its surface rippling as if something stirred beneath. That was his lair, she murmured, glancing nervously at the mirror. The place where he binds his victims. A sudden realization hit me. The children, the faces. It echoed in my mind, fragments morphing into clarity. The paintings. They were the lost. Yes, but we can't let the darkness take us. We don't belong here, she insisted, urgency slipping into her tone. Before I could respond, a sharp knock echoed from the door behind us, the unmistakable sound of his anger growing closer. We scrambled toward the window, scanning for an escape. The moon hung high, a warning, a glimmer of hope. Climb out, I urged, pushing the window open. As she started to hoist herself through, an icy chill swept through the room, the air thick with his presence. No, I cried out, suddenly aware of the shadow looming behind her, darkness seeping like smoke around the edges of the doorframe. The man's voice slithered into the room, chilling my blood. You think you can escape? Go. I pushed the girl through the window, feeling the air compress around me. I had to buy her time, whatever that meant. As he lunged forward, I turned to face him, heart pounding like a war drum. Leave her alone. His smile widened, revealing sharp teeth under the brim of his hat. You seek to protect her? You know nothing. Everything around me dimmed. The candle flickered weakly in the background, illuminating the chaos consuming my mind. Should I fight? Should I run? I was torn. The fear of failure bore down on me, but I couldn't let it crush me. Before I had a moment to think, I stumbled backward, toward the mirror, the sharp glass glowing eerily as if it recognized me. The shadows twisted and churned in response, beckoning me to retreat further. As I fell against it, a surge of memories slammed into me. Images of the girl as a child, laughter ringing like bells, time blurred between reality and the labored silence I had been thrust into. And then a flash of vision of her smiling, breaking free. In that second, I felt the pull of something ancient and powerful from the mirror, a chance to somehow reach out, to hold on to the remnants of what once was. Run! I shouted toward the escape, even as shadows closed around me. The last thing I heard was her voice, light and distant, calling out, "You have to help them." And then darkness enveloped me, leaving behind more questions than answers. Just as the door finally gave in, the night outside felt suffocatingly familiar. The woods holding secrets I wasn't sure I could bear to face again. Would the figure still linger? Would her voice echo? I crawled out, gasping for breath, aware that though I escaped the manor, the haunting melody of laughter would forever twine around my consciousness, reminding me that reality and darkness often blur in the shadows we choose to explore. I still think of her sometimes. Did she ever truly escape? Or was she woven into the haunted fabric of that cursed place? I don't know. I try hard not to revisit those memories. But some nights, in the solitude of the woods, I can still hear the faintest call, drifting through the leaves.